I've been saying for the longest, for someone to do a like outside zone triggering flamethrower.
They hit the car so hard that my entire exhaust system fell off the car up to the headers.
There's a term you can search on Facebook that will bring up stolen cars.
Ooh.
The idea of building a sleeper has kind of died.
It's not as common,
entirely.
right? So that's why I love filming them. I want people to feel like they're going to a drift event they really can't find anywhere else.
I think you've pulled that off.
Let's see how you do under pressure. Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm Kesha. I get to the paper, boy.
Okay, before we get into the podcast, I want to talk about this real quick because I've already got so many DMs about what happened at Fuel Fest. Now, car did get in a wreck. We had some throttle cable issues, stuck wide open. If you want to hear the full story, it's going to be at the very end of the podcast so that we're not interrupting anything that you guys are interested in. So, if you're interested in that, go check that out after you watch the podcast or before. Either one, doesn't matter to me. I appreciate you guys either way. Now get back to it. Welcome back to the #1 Drift Podcast on YouTube, presented by Injuku Racing. My name is Dawson, and today we have
David Patterson, that dude in blue.
back again. Dun dun dun.
I'm stoked to be back. It's always a good time to come into the studio, and you've been on the road like crazy, so it's good.
Too much.
Hi, welcome to the.
I feel like you actually.
Yeah, but
like
we
the whole.
we don't need to talk about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
we
you're
don't have to
getting
do that.
used to it. So I am used to it. But
Yeah.
you're getting used to it.
I'm the newbie,
yeah.
so I have to go through it now.
I know. I feel like a dad where I'm like, have you gotten your Sky Miles
Dude,
points?
he's just scolding me about SEMA and shit.
Yeah, I was like, dude, you gotta
He's
go.
like, have you
and
signed
here's-
up yet?
Yeah, sign up, register. I'm gonna be. Come on, you got to do it after this podcast. You are registering.
Apparently.
We're gonna get him to go. We're gonna find a way.
Awesome. All right. But yeah, sorry. Before we get into it, of course, look below the video. Make sure that subscribe button is not still red. If it is, go ahead and click that and hit the bell notification while you're at it so you never miss an episode. And on top of that, I know I'm not wearing it right now. Same color, but new hats, baby. It just dropped. We've got them on 144. It is a very, very limited quantity of them. So if you want one, grab one. You can either get them there or in person at the events. I think the next event I will be at is your event.
Yeah.
So Cosmic Drift, that actually leads me right into the next part of the intro. Cosmic Drift is coming up, of course, so grab your tickets. The links to that will be in the description, of course. And I will have the Injuku RB350Z out there. Good Lord, I'm starting off bad today.
It's okay. Reset.
Yeah.
Do it again. Try it again.
Nah, fuck it. They can
Real
just
time.
deal with it. Nah, they got it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's raw. We keep it raw,
That's
baby.
right.
Yeah, no, we're good. So yeah, that's actually all I got for the intro. So there's really no introduction for you. You've done it twice already. I mean, is there anything new?
Let's see here. I have 54 car reviews to edit right now.
Dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to record those?
Record them. I mean, some days I'll do like the most I've ever done in one day was 7, and I was
That's
done.
rough, dude.
I was done. My voice was done. My brain was shot. And, because you're trying to memorize people's stories and their parts list and the cosmetics of it and what went wrong, what broke,
Yeah.
what not to buy, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, typically on a really good day, I think the fastest I've ever filmed one was an hour and a half. And
Oh,
I
shit.
was cooking. Like I was doing all the glamour shots as fast as possible and everything. And I had to get to the airport in 2 hours because basically
Just to put that in
yeah.
perspective, by the way, a podcast takes as long as it is that you guys are listening to it. Maybe like 20, 30 minutes extra, depending on if there's any story we had to cut out.
Sure.
For,
Yeah, but
internet
I mean,
reasons.
it's one of those things where the videos always are better when you get the rollers and the flyby, and that does take not just a little bit more time. Just for that 30-second, 1-minute shot, I usually am right. I'm usually the one taking the rollers. So a lot of people don't know that. I'm usually the one hanging out of the window, right? Yeah. And doing it by hand and doing all that. I go, all right, come here, close. Oh, there's traffic. Wait, and then reset. And then if you're in the middle of nowhere, you triple take 3 times and go, okay, do a pull. That takes time. But a lot of the times on the days where it's multiple cars, if you don't see rollers in my video, it means I had no help that day. It was just me. And I usually do just me. Yeah. However, usually a lot of the other people getting their car reviewed will say, I'll help you do it. And that's just usually how it goes. But no, it's been fun. I've done a lot of weird stuff lately. I almost don't want to give it away, but like I did a big turbo Chevy Cruze.
No shit.
Yeah, like weird sleeper builds lately. They're my favorite to film. Like I did a twin charged Pontiac GTP. So it was the Grand Prix. So it had the basically the same motor as the Buick Regal that was supercharged.
Yeah.
But he put a turbo on it as well. So at the same time. So it was building boost at idle.
Oh my God, bro. What the fuck?
And his alignment was a wee bit off, so I was torque steering like a mofo.
Oh, that's sketchy,
it's front wheel drive, right? So lots of really weird stuff coming. Those are usually the videos that either do the best or the worst, right?
Yeah.
You basically roll the dice and be like, are people into this very weird thing that I find cool? Right. So I got lots of stuff to edit.
You almost have to clickbait the fuck out of those.
Unfortunately. Sure. I mean, me typing in so-and-so review just simply doesn't work hardly anymore, which is really sad. But yeah, if anybody wanted to know why, I don't really.
I almost died test driving this car.
I don't do that, but I'll say, like, for example, I have a title that I use a lot, and people can't stand it. But I say when I drive something really weird, but it's also fast, I call it an ultimate tuner troll. Because it's like if you were ever to get beat by it, it would suck. Right?
I see what you mean. Yeah.
But I'll say a so-and-so, a 400 horsepower Buick.
Yeah.
Is the ultimate tuner troll. I don't mean it's like the end all be all. I just mean it's cool. It's a tuner troll. It sucked to be beat at a drag strip or something, right? But I kind of treat that like a series. That's what I try to explain to people. It's like a sleeper series. And when you talk to a bigger car audience, not everybody knows what a sleeper is. Because it's an old term. I don't think people realize calling something a sleeper is old.
Well, not even just the term. It's just the idea of building a sleeper has kind of died.
It's not as common,
entirely.
Right? So that's why I love filming them.
Yeah.
Is because it's like, oh my God, this person took their time and money to make this happen. And that's why I really appreciate it. But yeah, that's why my car review titles, if there's a car with my logo in a thumbnail pretty much by itself, it's a car review. That's what I'll say. But anyway, other than that, it's just been traveling everywhere, but mostly, and beautiful segue, planning Cosmic Drift. So that has been a big one. Yeah, so it's been really interesting this year because last year I booked the same weekend and there was nothing else going on. There's like 7 other events going on the same day.
No shit.
Yeah. So
what other events?
There's a few pro-am events, I think, for pro licensing. So if you like a bunch of them can't come. Yeah, but it's just out of sheer coincidence. There's an event the weekend before, one after. So you're like, okay, how do we up the ante enough to get people to come and say, look, this is a really unique driving experience, right? So that's been on my mind, as you can imagine.
Definitely. I would be stressing like a motherfucker.
Stress is like...
You said, wait, how many events did you say were around the last year's one? Like
0.
hardly any? No? Oh, okay.
0.
So yeah, that's definitely...
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting because like people will be like, oh, sorry, bro, I'm getting my pro license that day. And I'm like, but cool lights, dude.
Yeah.
But I guess this is a good time to just say what it is, if that's cool with you.
Go for it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So basically... I was a music festival kid. I loved going to like EDC Vegas and stuff like that. And I was in, they do it at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, speaking of SEMA. And I was watching a set and I looked down, I saw rumble strips. I'm like, yo, drifting through this environment would be so cool, but I don't have $300 million that Insomniac production does. So I do it on a pretty grassroots budget, but essentially... I want people to feel like they're going to a drift event they really can't find anywhere else.
Yeah. I think you've pulled that off.
Last year, I do feel like I pulled it off, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but there was a moment when I was on top of the hill, and I was like, "Oh my god, it worked!"
Yeah,
like it was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, if you're not familiar, caffeine octane linear raceway, the carport that people wait under to go out drifting and wait their turn, I turn into like a Space Mountain kind of thing to make it more entertaining for your waits, because waiting for drifting is kind of boring or you're burning up.
Yeah.
So I have a sound system in there, and you got good music playing and visuals that I made in Adobe After Effects on big drive-in movie screens. And
Throw some fans in there.
oh yeah, no, I am this year. Yeah, we have 4 fans in there this year, just to keep people cool, and carbon monoxide, obviously.
True, yeah.
But the other thing too is like, okay, how do we upgrade the tunnel? Right? How do we upgrade the lighting over the track? How do we do this? So this year we have professional stage lasers over the track this year.
No shot.
Yeah. So it's the hardest thing to source out of everything. Because if you imagine Halloween's going on around the same time. So
my God, I didn't even think about that.
Another thing I didn't think about when making this event this year was, oh yeah, we'll do a laser show. That sounds cool. Let me do some research. Oh wait, Busch Gardens in Florida needs those.
Yeah.
And Disney needs those. And for their Halloween events, like Six Flags, and like all these places when they do like Halloween events. I'm like, oh, that was an oversight.
How much does that even cost to rent?
It's not fun. It's not fun, but thankfully I got 3 big ones. So basically I'm renting 3. They were too expensive to buy, trust me.
Fair,
and
fair.
So I'm renting 3 of them, and they're going to be what is so effing cool about it is that if you've ever been to Linear, which you have, I call it the fun bank, the left bank, if you're facing down. So the bank on the left, if you're in the stands and you're looking down near the pits, the bank near the pits is, in my opinion, the most fun part of the track because it's easier to drift, but you haul ass.
Is it really?
Yes.
See, I've never really truly driven that track. I drove a couple laps in Dustin Miles Z.
Okay, so when you flick into that one, you just mat it. And the shape of that bank, for some reason, it just carries you around. And you're like, wee, it's just fun. The other one, you got to have a little bit more, like, we gotta go.
Yeah, you're gonna,
it's long. Yeah, it's crazier. But that bank makes the most smoke in the entire track. So what do you need to see lasers? You need a smoke machine. Well, what if you made the cars the smoke machine?
Oh.
So the lasers are going to go above the track and the cars are going to be the smoke machine.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So that's what I'm really excited about is like getting people to come out, and even if they can't drive, it's going to be much more of a spectacle than last year.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be more fun for people even if they just want to come hang out with their friends. And I mean, the support is crazy. CoreWorks has been super supportive. Next and Tire, Mega Racer, who's the headline sponsor, they gave 3/8 of a mile of LED just for the track alone.
Okay, so how many did you have last year then? Do you know how many? Like
a little bit less. So, but basically, we're extending that just for a little bit more. But it's, but yeah, like Toyota Gazoo Racing is gonna have people there. Like it's gonna be
that's
sweet.
Fucking wild.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild. And but that's why I keep telling people, not in a selfish way, but I go, look, if there's another event going on that same week, I don't mean to crap on that event.
Yeah.
But Cosmic Drift comes once a year, and you're gonna go drift an open parking lot over this, and it's cheaper. Like we don't charge that much for how expensive the event is, right? And that's why if it goes well this year, I'd like to make it a 2-day, and at the same time, because it takes 4 days to set up the whole track.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
For an evening.
Yeah.
Of fun. But at the same time, maybe take it on the road one day. Maybe if it goes well. So if it goes really well, I'd like to bring it.
Like like mountain road type stuff, like drift Appalachians.
I would love to, but probably another oval somewhere. Probably.
Like different stages and stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so that was one of the questions I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Is if you ever plan on doing multiple in a year type
So
stage?
it all comes down. I know it sounds very melodramatic. It depends on how this goes this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the drift community has gotten in such a beautiful way. It's exploded. But there's so many events.
It's spoiled.
Right, we're spoiled. But at the same time, I overall see it as a good. But
True,
when you're
yeah.
trying to do something a little bit different and everything, it's still very tough.
Yeah.
Because, if your drift event is in your state, of course you're going to go to that one. It makes sense, unless you're offering something really out there. And that's what we're trying to do for Cosmic. But what I would like to do is probably bring it to the West Coast. Because
it'll hit better
there's a big demand out there for it. And it's so funny.
Well, that style of music and like that.
Oh yeah, like
atmosphere
Factory
just suits
93
better out
and
there.
like all that kind of stuff. That scene out there, they're super into it. So that'd be really
Just a
interesting.
bunch of emo kids out here.
Yeah. But no, I truly am really excited about it, and I think what's really cool about it too is just the amount of volunteers. Like so many people come and volunteer to help because they think it's such a cool event. Yeah. So when we set up the lights last year, 90% of the people helping were volunteers. And I said,
Dude, that's so cool.
I was like, guys, you don't have to do this. Like,
shout out to you guys.
yeah, no, for real. Like if I didn't have them, no way.
Yeah.
Like no way. And I try to buy them dinner and everything else because I'm like, thank you. But the tunnel takes roughly an evening to do. The
horrible, I guess. But
I also
still,
got
one
this
portion of
very, very tall inflatable
I saw
astronaut.
it. I saw it, dude. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, so
Where's that going to be again?
So the plan is on top of the tunnel. So him looking down at you like as you come in. So as you come into the tunnel, he's like looking down at you. That's the plan, but we'll have to see how he's tethered, right? If he flops around too much and stuff. But
that makes sense.
And by the way, you feel free to use any of the footage I've taken of
Yeah,
anything.
absolutely.
But
Josh, do your thing.
but yeah, the astronaut is so funny. The company I got it from, they had an even bigger version. So I got the second biggest one, and I kind of felt bad. I was like, maybe I should have gone all out, And then I got it, I was like, oh my God.
No, I think this will do.
It'll do. That'll do,
Just throw it in the middle of the track.
So I thought about it. It would reduce the scale of it. He'd look small because the track's so big.
Yeah, that
So
track
do you
is
remember
massive.
in the middle
open.
in the middle last year we had the two little UFOs. If you were standing next to those, they're tall, so you don't even remember them. There's two little UFO inflatables. They weren't little. They were probably 10 feet tall. In the
Holy
middle of the
shit.
track.
Yeah, I never even noticed.
Them. Well, you know what's even crazier is target fixation. So when you design a spectacle, you have to think about people just not looking places. So if you were in the stands last year, to the right of you, there was a humongous drive-in movie screen.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
With my visuals on it and everything. Almost everybody I talked to did not see it.
Really?
They were just like, oh, there was? They're too busy looking at the drifting.
I couldn't
and
help
else.
but not notice.
Well, it's like that sleight of hand, like a magician uses, right?
Yeah,
They just
That's the
use
first
that
thing
fixation.
I thought of whenever you said that
right?
too. Yeah.
But it's like, okay, so we need to put that somewhere else, right? Like just for that to give people that spectacle. So I've learned so much in the past 2 years of because I did 3 drift events that were pretty much quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they had a halftime show and drift games and stuff like that, which is also at Cosmic. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about people's preferences and flow of traffic and everyone, the things you overlook. Because everyone thinks they can run an event their first time and it go great.
Never
And
does.
I will say my first one, it was called Just Drift It. And because I was so tired of just people lollygagging, I was like, just do it. That it was like Nike, just drift it.
Yeah.
And basically I got there and it was 28 degrees outside. So a lot of the drivers came, but not a lot of spectators came. It was scary because who could blame them? It was freezing and windy, but it turned out to be a blessing because it ended up scaling my event slowly. So I could see, so that works here, but it doesn't work here. Okay. Thank God it didn't happen with a catastrophic 100-car line traffic jam outside.
It's just like trying to fix something on your car. If you just fix a bunch of shit, you don't know exactly what fixed it anyways.
It's the worst.
So if you just go out and do a bunch of shit the first time and then it goes horribly, you don't know what actually made it go bad.
Yeah.
Because you got so much that you started off with, but you start off simple.
Exactly.
learn
But
better.
yeah, I mean,
I could see that.
I guess the last thing I'll say is just like, I'm just so stoked for everybody to go to see like what I've been working on for a year.
Yeah.
And also, Nappy Boy guys are coming, and it's just going to be
I was going to ask that
They're
too,
going to be
yeah.
coming. I'll say, yeah.
There's Payne. I understand
coming.
Nappy Boy, but Payne.
It just, Rob's coming. Like everybody,
Sick.
like the core, like friend group.
Dude, out of all, I swear to God, I know everyone wants to meet Payne. Everyone wants to meet Hurt. Go fucking talk to Rob. He is one of the best dudes ever. He's so cool.
I got a story about Rob.
Fucking send it.
So
he won't care.
So no, it's only good things. Like Rob is like incredible.
Yeah.
Like he's truly
He's the only reason their cars work.
Yeah, he's a big reason. But Rob has always been so helpful of mine, but my Coyote S13, right? It's always had issues. So just through the years of like getting basically scammed, right? And getting rebuilt over and over again. Finally, we premiere the car to shake it down at Cosmic Drift, the most like visually intense thing ever.
Yep.
The first flick I go out, the power steering goes out. I'm like,
I remember this, yeah.
And I had too sticky of a tire in the car. So that combination.
You were running some like 305s, weren't you? Some
no, they weren't big. They were just really sticky.
They were the Nexons,
Nexon
right?
SR1s.
Okay.
So practically a road course tire.
Yeah.
And that's not Nexon's fault. They just thought, I could break it loose easy, but not with power steering, right?
Nah.
So I kind of put the car off to the side for a while, and I'm like, I got to figure this out. So a good friend of mine named Matt, shout out to Matt, incredible guy. He's in my phone as Wiring Sensei because he's just incredible, like with analytical things. And he put in the Volvo pump conversion, right, doing the electric power steering pump. Well, then it still has weight to it. We're like, why isn't this working? Yeah. Like we're scratching our head. And there have been so many chefs in the kitchen with this car that people just couldn't figure it out by the time they got it. So,
especially when wiring's involved, dude.
Right. So,
anybody that does wiring will tell you, I don't want to go after anyone else's work. It sucks.
It's horrible. And so, basically, finally, Rob goes, you know what? Let me take a crack at it.
That sounds just like
and
Rob,
I
too.
go, all right, no problem, man. And so he was kind enough to go pick up my car from Matt's shop, which is at Matt's house, picks it up, brings it to Auto Extremes, which is his shop. Mm-hmm. And he goes, I'll get to it when I get to it, but I'll let you know what I find. I go, no problem, no rush. Because, that car's been sitting anyway, like whatever at this point. I'll just go do my job and do filming. I'm already busy enough. So all of a sudden, I get a text or a phone call. He's like, all right, I'm going to work on your car today. I go, awesome. I said, good luck. It sucks to work on. And I only say that not because of like the layout of everything, just because of the mystery. Like nobody can really figure a lot of things out on my cars. I'm always like that guy of like
Coyote car. Anyways.
Well, not just
not
that.
Much room.
No,
all of it together.
It's not even that, but like it's funny. Every platform that I've ever worked on, I'll have an expert on that platform go, "Wow, never seen that before." Like on every single car. So
the luck of the draw.
That's
baby.
right. So I'm a pioneer. So essentially, Rob has it. He texts me, or he calls me, I think 5 hours, 6 hours later, and he goes, "I think I got your car figured out." So,
dude, that's one of the worst but best phone calls ever. It's like, you son of a bitch, you figured it out that quick. It's been years.
Well, I think it's because it's a fresh pair of eyes.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's somebody who has experience in hot rods. And they have to be very creative with steering and some other when they dump a car.
That is true,
he does those big wheel dumped trucks, like mini trucks.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work,
Those
right?
are cool, dude.
They're so cool. But
such an underrated.
But you're having to
car scene.
Tub things and do all this crazy welding and blah blah blah. Our original plan was he was gonna look at it, make headers for me, and put a steering shaft through the headers. That was the original plan. He goes, let me try to make this work first. So to give you context, my car with the Coyote in it, you basically have to go around the motor, right? It's such a physically big engine that you basically have to go here, then there, right? So the geometry, if you get it wrong, it's done. You just don't know where you are. And that's where I was.
Wow.
So when I was steering it, I could be here, but I could be thinking I was here. I could be straight, but I was actually here. Like even with a good alignment, it didn't matter. So Rob got in there, changed a little bit of the geometry, fixed a few things with my steering shafts. Then guess what it was? It was my brand new steering rack that I just never checked. I had a brand new rack that was rebuilt, and it just didn't hold pressure.
No shit.
Yep.
Just bad seals and stuff?
So I checked every other corner of that car except naturally the rack because I overlooked it. Because I was like, oh, it's new. I don't know. Like, that seems to be more common than people think, is like buying a new part and it's defective. Like, that happens all the time. But when you've been in front of a car for 8 years, and you just don't think of it, right? And Rob was like, all right, rule number 1, let's check the rack. And then he had a spare Sparky's rack, and he goes, just buy the rack from me. I'll put it in for you. I said, sweet. So he puts it in, does all that, brings the car back to me, and then Payne had his birthday party at Lanier. And I was like, it's a great time to like shake down my car. Mm-hmm. So they, thankfully they invited me and I went, everything was cool. But it was so funny how hyper focused I was on my car, right? I was like, I got it. Because Payne didn't show up till way later. So it was basically us driving for a while. So we get there, and my friend Matt, who did the pump, the Volvo pump, was there with me. And so I'm like, oh my God, this is like the first time I'm actually driving this car. Right? It's very like...
Feels so good.
It didn't even... No,
I was screaming like a little girl the first time I got an actual lap.
I didn't even know how to feel about it, because it's just been so exhausting financially and mentally, for all these years of just like, this car sucks, because you're always dealing with something and dealing with bad people and all that. So it had this weird juju in my shop, it was like, oh, that's the car that scammed me for 8 years. That's kind of like, and I never got, but I never got to drive it, so I pull out for the first lap and I go into a flick. What I should have done was like do some figure eights first just to feel it out. I didn't. I went right into the course, and
as one does.
and I did a sightsee lap. I am a strong approvalist of like sightseeing laps first.
I try, dude.
So many people just go out there and do it,
and then I'll go around the first turn.
You just can't help yourself.
And then the second turn, I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And I'll just kick it out real quick just to feel it out. I'm like, all right.
Discipline.
No, don't.
I learned sightseeing laps from ice drifting, right? Because you were on a multi-surface.
I could see that.
Big banks, snow banks, so you had to be sure. So I go out there, do my sightseeing lap, and come back around. I come back around. I flick into the first turn, and the car felt like I was driving on black ice. I was like, okay. I'm not this bad. Yeah. What's going on?
What was the tire pressure at?
Well, I go.
It's a
whole bunch of stuff. I go back. I try again. I'm spinning out again. I'm like, this car's really hard to drive. And it wasn't self-steering well. And like, I was kind of having to chuck it back. And I was like, okay, so it's my first day driving it. And I hate it. Like, I was like, I can't win.
Of course.
So I'm like, there's got to be a fix for this. There's no way, right? And so I come back in.
Did you get an alignment at all?
I thought I had.
Oh, wow.
And apparently somebody did one ages ago. So I go up to Matt, and I go, Matt, let's check the tire pressure first. One of the tires in the back had been pumped to 60.
Damn.
One was at 45.
And it was the same Nexans?
No, different ones.
Okay.
Like it was like an easier tire to break loose.
Okay.
But I guess whenever somebody mounted the wheels and tires, they just were like throwing them on there, right? And they just didn't tell us what the pressures were. And to be fair,
check them anyways.
We should have, right? That was my fault. But then we get the pressure right. I'm still spinning out. I'm like, what is going on? And it's still not self-steering. I'm like, dang. So I ended up like
dampeners all.
I think what was kind of heartbreaking is like people at the party were like, "Can you give me a ride?" I'm like, "No,
not yet,
not yet."
I hate that feeling, dude.
Because I live for like live sharing experiences. Like I love it. It's so fulfilling, like sharing a fast car, drifting or whatever. Like I will do that all night long, as I have before at some events. Like I did a 9-hour drift day in Iowa once and just did ride-alongs all day long, all the way.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you clips of that. But I was doing like around fireworks and crazy stuff. But
No shit. That's cool as fuck.
But so I'm getting sidetracked here. ADHD brain. We're going.
You're good. It's gonna happen.
So anyway, I just end up parking it. I go, it's not worth me. Not so much. It was more so like, let me fight another day. I learned a lot. There's something up with the car, but it's okay. So then I just went, hung out, chat, mingled, went home. And then as I'm loading up the car, Rob comes up and goes, hey man, they're doing another day tomorrow just for driving. Do you want to come shake down your car again? I said, oh, that's awesome. So I don't have to unload my car, and everything. So I go, sure. So I just take my truck and trailer home. Drift car sitting outside in front of the house. I'm like, bring it right back. I call Matt. I go, Matt, let's change the alignment. First thing. Did not even try it. We measured the front alignment. It was 1/2 inch towed in. I was like, oh. So we did that.
That's why it had no self-steer.
None. None. So we went half an inch out. And it was like I was a new man. Like it's so fascinating to me how much of a difference that is. Like you wouldn't think so, because it's like,
what angle kit is it up front too?
Oh man, it's old. It's nothing that fancy. It's it's a Villains kit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Villains kit from like 2016 or 17.
Does it have the stock knuckles?
It's cut knuckles, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, it's been so long. Yeah, it's so bad. Yeah. Anyway, it's got angle on it, but it's not like Wisefab or FDF or anything. But basically, I'd have to kind of get it into angle to kind of just feel where it was. And then, I just went out, did some figure eights, and I'm like, oh, thank God. The only learning curve now on that car is the electric steering, the lack of feedback.
I've always been curious because I dealt with a lot of power steering issues myself. I don't know if I told you, but I mean, I went through 4 racks before the car ever even came off jack stands. So like, I feel the power steering shit, and so many people said to just go Volvo. And I'm like, dude, that's a whole nother headache just installing the shit. I'm not doing that.
It's a little time consuming, but it does work. I will say that it does work.
To me, wouldn't it feel more like a sim though? I hate sims. I suck at. I don't hate them. Sorry.
Oh, we can talk about sims. You want to talk about sims? I mean, I used to be so terrible at sims. I mean, so terrible. I was too embarrassed to get on them.
Yeah. I just need to get my own.
I don't know if I was embarrassed. It was more like I already tried that. I don't need to try it again. But finally, what really changed the game for me was shout out to Torque Motorsports in Duluth, Georgia. It is like a sim cafe. So you go in, you pay $15, and you get to use a very nice sim.
Damn. And
so me and 4 other dudes from my local drift scene will go there and just practice. And
that'd be cool.
It builds community too, right? Because it's like, we could either wait for the next drift day and blow up our tires, or we go have some fun and learn some more driving technique. And it's a good way for me to teach others too, like something that other people to teach me. But going from real life, if you've learned how to drift in real life first, it is so tough. It is, but then you have the sim prodigies, right? These young kids who start on sim.
Yeah.
And then they get to real drifting and they get it like 4 tries.
Yeah.
They're like,
tandeming by the end of the day.
Yeah.
And fucking laying down heaters of a lap.
Well, it's because they don't, one, they don't have that fear factor, but 2,
true, yeah.
But 2, the G-forces and stuff like that is giving them more feedback, right? So we're used to always having it. So going to no feedback and just visuals, which drifting is, I would argue.
Especially if you get a kid that's like, it doesn't even have VR or anything. They're just like staring at a screen straight the entire time drifting. Yeah. And then you put them like the spatial
they can turn
awareness.
Their head now.
Like, look where they want to go. Like, dude, come on. You're way far ahead.
It's amazing. I mean, I might have told this story last time I was here. I can't remember, but There's this one kid back in like 2015. This is way ahead of the times. In Virginia when I used to live there, and at Shenandoah Speedway. It's beautiful up there. It's like a speedway in the mountains of Shenandoah Valley.
Yeah.
It's just an oval, but it's cool. There was an event there called Low Style Heroes. So like some guys from Japan came. It was wild. Forrest Wang was there. A few other guys were there. It was cool. It was a cool event. But we went and I met this kid, had an SR20. I think his name was Preston. Yeah, it was Preston. Preston had an SR20 240. And a bunch of the 240 guys of Richmond, Virginia, where I grew up, were like, hey, there's this kid who wants us to help him start his car.
Yeah.
Do you want to go on this quick road trip with us? So we drove up to the mountains where he lived. I had no idea where we were going. I just came along for the ride. And they fired it up. They got it fired up. If I remember right. Or, yeah, the starter was bad. That's right. The starter was bad.
Gotcha.
And then I didn't see Preston for another few years. And they went to Shenandoah, and all of a sudden, he goes, yeah, it's my first drift event, or one of his first drift events. And he was murdering for a first drift event, right? I was like, he goes, Sim?
Dude.
I'm like, what?
I'm telling you, man, the sim is just taking over.
Yeah, I mean, but it's...
I just wish it was easier to understand. That's my only gripe with it.
Sure.
Easier to understand, and the fact that it, like, for me, I hate video games. So, like,
okay,
if I owned one...
That doesn't help.
Yeah, like, it doesn't help at all. If I owned one, I would spend max 15, 20 minutes on it a week, if that. Maybe
it's very helpful to do it with like, people. Right? So, because it's like skateboarding. Like skateboarding, if you're skating by yourself all the time, man, you love skateboarding, right? But what... The cool thing about skateboarding is the people. You know what I mean? Just like drifting in cars and everything else, it's the people. It's what keeps you coming back, right? So with skateboarding, it's like when you're learning a new trick. When you do it by yourself, your determination is times 100, right? Because you don't have any witnesses. You don't have anybody to root for you. It's the same way with driving. Like if I go to the track by myself, I'm a crazy person. I'll do it all day long because I want to get better. Yeah. But most people, they're going to get tired. Yeah. You know,
kind of bored after. I've done it. I've gone to Driven Luck multiple times by myself, testing the car and stuff. And it's like, I'm bored. I'm ready to go.
I remember the first time I went to ice drifting with Josh Robinson. He said, dude, get out of the car. Like, it's time to eat dinner. You know, like, or it's time to eat lunch. I was a nut job because once I finally got it, I was like, I can be better. Like that, it just got just so
scratching
deep.
The next itch.
Oh, no. Like, I'm one of those people that gets, when I find something that I'm good at or I'm getting good at, I get obsessive. Like, absolutely. I mean, that's how I was with video games, speaking of. Like, in 8th grade, I played Halo 2 competitively because I played on every sports team you could ever imagine, and we always lost. And it was so degrading. Finally, I find this one thing that I'm really good at. Next thing you know, 8 hours a day, and my grades are dropping. So, you know, it's...
True,
Yeah, but it's one of those things where I just, like, when I find, like, I even have a glimpse of being decent at, I just... lean into it. But that's why, going back to like Cosmic, I knew that it went so well last year. Now I'm like, all in.
Yeah,
like,
we gotta
go.
We gotta dive deeper now.
Bro, I was looking into pyro even this year, and I was like, stop right now.
I think you should. I've been saying it.
I'd be broke
so many times. Oh, I'm sure that's just way expensive. But I saw, actually, speaking of that, I've been saying for the longest, for someone to do a like outside zone triggering flamethrower.
Oh, like Drift Masters does?
Yeah, but like that's all like someone's behind a desk pushing a button and stuff like that. Like I'm talking about like pool noodles on a switch.
Sure.
You touch the pool noodle, it shoots a flame in the air.
Right.
So like it's more of a like something to aim for, I guess. And I saw someone that did it. It wasn't on like a switch or anything, but it shot right over their car, like right there, and it was just like a grassroots event. You could tell it wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah, if you could somehow, you could totally do that. You could use like some form of programming with a sensor and trigger
Gotta be fairly easy.
Yeah, I mean, this is totally not related to drifting, but there's a YouTuber who's so funny to watch. He's this genius kid named Michael Reeves. And
that sounds familiar.
He got really big. One of his biggest videos was just showing how easy it is to program things because he's so smart. But he made a Roomba that when it hit stuff, it screamed and like cursed.
I saw the video of that.
That's
yes.
Michael Reeves. Yeah. So,
my God,
but
that's
he
funny.
explains it. And he doesn't really explain it in detail. He's like, yeah, so I did this thing. I took a Raspberry Pi motherboard and I did this and it's done. It's like, okay, if that can be done, we can make flames go up with a triggered sensor, you know? But yeah, that would be something I would definitely expand on if Cosmic goes well this year. So hopefully it does.
Well, actually, to jump back on Cosmic and stuff, how many like drivers and spectators are you expecting to be there?
Last year, I think there's a misconception of like when you say how many spectators come into an event, it's like all at once. No, people like trickle in and out, right?
Yeah.
I think we had roughly around 2,000 spectators last year, in and out.
Still quite a bit.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, we had a car show up top too. And yeah, this year we're having a car show up top too. I think we're going to have like a Tim Burton Batmobile and like some cool stuff because it's like, it kind of doubles as a Halloween event. And so I know it kind of doubles as my birthday too. So yeah, my birthday's October 18th. So it's like, it's a big birthday party. So come to my birthday party. Anyway.
Wait, is it on the 18th?
No, it's on the 26th of October, but it's like, it's a late birthday party.
Okay.
Late birthday party. Yeah. But I planned it all myself. So,
Surprise
but we had north of 100 something drivers last year. I was like, I think we had like 100. I want to say we had like at least 130 at least. It was a lot. We were basically sold out of pre-registration, and then we got people coming from like 9 hours away and they didn't pre-register. And you can't turn them down. Like you can, but who's going to be the bad guy? You know?
Yeah.
You just basically, by the way,
sucks.
whoever's watching and they haven't pre-registered, we're charging like $25 more if you show up and you need to pre-register because the spacing, like linear is big, but it's not that big. So if you have the
paddock isn't that big.
No. So if you have a big trailer and everything, we got to make room. We got to plan for that. And the vendors and everything else. So if somebody shows up with a double stacker trailer and they didn't pre-register, you're like, dude, please. Like it's so funny.
No, I'd be charging way more than $25 for those.
I know.
I'm sorry.
That was just a random number, but it was,
I understand, like, if you want to wait until last minute because of weather or whatever the fuck, but like an event like that, you don't do that. You buy the ticket.
But you can get it refunded. That's what I mean. It's like if you just reserve your
most
spot.
Events won't do that.
Oh, yeah, we will.
Most events will just give you a credit for another one.
We usually do a credit too, but we'll do either usually. But the thing is with this is that it happens once a year.
Yeah.
That's it. And the amount of work that goes into it is like I'm sure people can relate to this if they like own a small business or something. I had like 20 friends show up from out of state last year just expecting like just to walk in.
What?
It's like,
why?
I didn't know you were coming. I need to know that you were coming if you needed like a homie hookup or something.
Like a driver?
No. Yeah. Driver or spectator. Bro. Yeah, it destabilized it quite a bit. Like it was like, okay, like at least support your homie.
You're
a little
better
bit,
human being than me. That shit would have pissed me off.
Oh no, I was a little twisted, but I was like, dude, like it's not even an Xbox game I'm asking for. You know what I mean? Like it's
a text message.
Yeah, just a text message. I just mean pricing wise, like it's not expensive to go hang out. So
spend more at the bar on a weekend.
Yeah. I know all about that, you know. But
me too. Big party guy.
Yeah, big party guy here. I remember, like one time, like my 21st birthday, I'll never forget. We went to this Irish pub, and I saw the tab on my friend's receipt, and I was like, "Nope, I'm good. I'll go drive." Keep it. But anyway, point of the matter is, if you are watching this and you happen to be watching this and you want to drive Cosmic, pre-register right now.
Yes,
because they will sell out
after the podcast, though. I'll let you have that one. Go do it now.
Here's a card. There you go.
I never even do those
What?
cards.
You got to. Yeah, they help out a lot.
It takes so much time to
No,
go
it
in and
does
fucking put them in there.
not.
And I'm like, I don't want to do this right now.
Copy and paste a link. No, I'm talking about the YouTube cards. You know, like the little eye that you can just clip on. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like the ones that come up in the top.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
whoop. Yeah. It takes 5 seconds.
I never fucking do those. I know. I probably should. The one thing I really need to do is like setting up time codes for different topics within the podcast instead of just waiting for YouTube to do it. Because YouTube will do it, but it takes a long time. Fucking months.
No, I think it kind of depends on the video for me. Like, if it's a really long video, yeah, I put in timestamps. Yeah. But if it's just like a car review, I'm just like, let her rip tater shit.
Yeah, car review, I wouldn't care.
Yeah, because you're just like, oh, you're here to see what the car does. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got to say.
Sorry. Yeah, we got sidetracked on that.
Oh no, I'll talk about anything. I'll talk about world history. I don't care. I love that stuff. You know, I always tell people in an alternate timeline, I was probably a history podcaster or something weird. You know, like
yep. Yeah. The Discovery Channel narrators.
Or David Attenborough from Planet Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. My man.
Oh, okay. Anyways. So actually, what layout are you going to be running at Cosmic this year?
You'll be coming out to a hairpin. So it's the way I like to do layouts, and I get advice from local drifters as well, so they're happy, right? You always want to make sure your base is happy with the layout. Absolutely. Otherwise, they don't show up. You know, it's like, why? Why would I come? That doesn't look fun. Yeah. So the plan right now, anyway, is going to be very similar to last year. So go out, hairpin, first big bank, come in, manji, right-hander, then other big bank, and then you shut down. Yeah, so you get the chance to do both sides. Because that's something, usually you kind of have to be a little choosy, like which bank you want to prioritize. I prefer the left bank, so I want to do a heater on the left bank. You know what I mean? So, and it's next to the pit, which has the most spectators, which also will have the most lasers. So that's what I'm saying. That layout also serves the light show. So that's also something to have in mind. We might make a small change here and there, but the basic layout is going to absolutely involve the bank next to the pits. That way the spectators have a really good visual.
As long as we got that.
Yes. So
hopefully my car doesn't fuel cut like a motherfucker.
It'll be fine.
Dude, that kill care for No Star Bash, have you ever been there?
No,
okay.
I haven't.
So like coming out onto the bank where the crowd is, there's this little like, dude, it's honestly hard to even explain. It's like a little hip, and then a dip, and then up onto the bank. I see. So you have to you kind of go up, down, and then onto the bank.
That's a tricky weight transfer.
And holy shit! But it's like it's after transition. So like you've already transitioned.
You're already in slide basically.
Yeah, you basically just transitioned. You're on throttle coming into the bank.
Okay.
And then you do that little dip. But if you can just stay in it, it feels like butter. It's so smooth.
Yeah, because your weight transfer is more consistent, right? Yeah. Rather than ha.
Yeah, but no, I have to lift, clutch in. As soon as I hit the dip that goes onto the bank,
then you go in.
As soon as my tire hits the bank,
done.
I can fucking stomp on it. But
that makes a lot of sense.
I have to feather it. And
with the clutch going in, you're kind of floating over it for a second, and then you're going in.
Right.
Got it.
It's just fuel slosh in the rear. Is my biggest issue.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a Z thing, and I think you can mitigate that with like a radium kit and stuff like that.
Yeah, radium sells intake surge tank.
It looks sweet too.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But it's hidden. It's all in the tank.
Yeah.
So it's on the passenger side where I think the actual lever for the gauges or some shit. I don't know how that works because there's two of them.
Every Z that I've driven, especially for Texas Drift Academy with Josh, it's the rule of thumb was keep it above half a tank, right?
I gotta keep it at full.
Really?
At all times. Yeah.
Maybe it's time for a new floater, you know what I'm saying? New sensor in there.
I need the insert tank.
Yeah, I would just do that. Yeah, because it would solve all your problems. You wouldn't have to be doing this tricky.
The only thing I'd have to worry about is running out of fuel.
Yes.
Not looking at my gauge.
I don't think people realize, like, when you're driving cars hard, how much discipline there is to look at gauges and everything at the same time. I think the rule of thumb, though, is...
I have a passenger do it.
That?
I have my temp gauge right next to the passenger.
That's the most important one.
One of them, at least. I have one on my dash and then one over here. I'm like, dude, if you see this motherfucker go over like 215, scream.
Ooh,
just scream at me.
It's getting hot for that. Yeah, I basically, I'll usually, like, if I am in a transition where I'm holding it pretty good, I just go, boop. I just take a real quick glance. Just
drop down real quick.
Yeah.
Mine gets in the way. Mine's like the shifter and handbrake are right there too. So like I have to be leery of like what gear I'm in to look down and see it and still be able to read it. I don't know.
My handbrake is mysteriously close to my steering wheel. So I need to maybe just hinge it a little bit, maybe sort of crooked.
Oh, you'll find out after this. My shifter is in the dash.
Sick.
You're punching the dash going into third and first. Yeah.
You just have
to palm it.
Well, speaking of like hitting things that way, did I tell you about this Miata I drove recently?
Mm.
It was. Do you know what the 4B11 engine is? It's out of the Evo 10.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Evo 10.
Yeah.
He put his name's Adam Austin, super cool guy. He put a 4B11 Evo 10 engine and then put a Tremec T56 Magnum in a Miata. And it's rear-wheel drive, and it made 720 wheel. And he had a sequential shifter in it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because every time I bopped the sequential, my elbow would mash the center console. So I had a bruise right here after I did the review. I was like, every single time.
Well, no, it actually helps me in the Z. I don't know, like, I'm short as fuck, so if you ever see me in person, like, you'll understand. I'm very short, so in a Z, I have to have a certain quick release setup from NRG that's very thin, very shallow steering wheel, just like these grip roll ones up here. Shameless plug. But, no, and then on top of that, where the factory shifter is, when I had the VQ in it, since I'm like my seat's so far up in a bucket seat, my elbow is slamming the side of the seat every time I go into second.
Yeah.
So I'm like doing this weird thing getting into second.
I call it T-Rexing.
Yeah.
Your hands doing this
that's exactly what it is.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, like
doing like fucking this.
So I can't remember if Ryan Turek drove a Pontiac Solstice or a Saturn Sky. I think it was a Solstice way back in the day. But they're the same car, but reskinned. But I always that always comes to mind because the window switch made you T-Rex.
Yeah.
It made you go,
Yeah.
Like you couldn't like just naturally, like if you're driving in this tiny cockpit, right? You'd have to go, It just made you feel so good. It's my strong hand. Like it was weird. But
know what hand you use.
That's my car library going wild right now.
Yep.
It's like an almanac. Just like, the reference here. Yeah, but I mean, it's just funny how like certain platforms are just made for different shaped people.
Yeah,
it's just how it is.
Yeah,
but thankfully, I feel as though it's better to be too short as a car person than too tall because you'll be hitting your head on stuff.
Yeah,
like when I was younger, all I wanted to be
get to miss out on cars.
Yes,
driving them.
That's why the Audi R8 was developed because tall people couldn't fit in Lamborghinis. Fun fact.
Is it really true?
It's a big part of why.
Oh my god!
There's like this.
I've heard that
there's
before,
this
but
urban legend. I don't know if it's actually true or not, but apparently, the urban legend goes that this really tall guy saved up his entire life to buy a Lamborghini, and then he went to the dealership and couldn't fit in it. Like that's like the elevator pitch, right? Of like what happened, and I'm sure it has happened. I'm sure.
Sucks.
But then the Audi R8 was developed, and it's honestly on paper, it's a lot better of a car. It's more comfy, it has more space, it has everything. Yeah, but most tall people can drive those because there's just more space, more leg room, more everything.
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
But try driving Josh Robinson's Pro Ute. I couldn't see anything.
I didn't realize how big those cars actually are.
First of all, they're huge. Second of all, I had like 4 booster seats, and I still couldn't fit in Josh's seat.
Even as a race car, like the roof sits as tall as like an S10.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no, it's a truck.
it's pretty big.
It's a truck.
Yeah,
you know?
it's a
like,
mini truck.
It but no, like, you know, Josh's seat was so fixed so far back and so low because he's 6, whatever, he's super tall.
Yeah.
And I had to put like pillows and hoodies and blankets and everything just to make it possible to drive this thing. And yeah, dude, it was the first FD car I'd ever. It's the only FD car I've ever driven. Now that I think of it.
Really?
Yeah, but I was in a big open parking lot, you know, at the Texas Drift Academy, so it was fine. But yeah, man, having 1,000 horsepower on tap, wild. Just and you're going. You had to be very disciplined. You had to be super disciplined with your throttle control with your foot.
Yeah.
Right, because basically you go, and then you okay. I'm sideways now. All right. Yeah, and then Weston Champlin tried to get into it. He was like, "That's crazy."
I bet, dude, is he like kind of the same person in person?
Weston is Weston.
Okay, yeah. He seems like that type of guy.
That a lot of YouTubers on screen and off screen can be slightly different or so, just personality wise, because some people have to like turn on for camera.
Right.
I try you know what? I'll ask you. Am I close to my on camera? Fairly close? Close enough?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I would say so.
That was my whole goal when I started. Because that way, if I talk to people, they don't get some, why do you like this?
Same, yeah. I'm like, I have no choice. You have to sit here and listen to us for hours.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where some people like to build a character or build whatever. That way they can almost separate their work life from home life. I get that, but it's too hard for me to hold an appearance. Like, there's no way I could do it. Yeah. There's like no way. I can't Larry the Cable Guy my way through life, you know? Because when we all found out that's not who he was, I was like, what?
Yeah,
That's a pro job, keeping a facade, you know, for that long. But yeah, Weston's a trip, dude. He's an absolute trip, but he's super cool. We were eating dinner one time, and he was like, "Dude, I really like that video you made about car culture." I was like, "Thanks, man."
Yeah,
he goes, when are you gonna make a sequel to that? I go, I don't think I have anything else left to say. You know, like, there's really, like, when it comes to
what should I say?
Well, it's like, you know, the video is 2012 versus 2022. If you do 2013 versus 2023 or 2014 versus 2020, it's not that different.
Right.
You know, the culture was still fairly the same.
It's got to be a big, like, generational gap.
I would say post 2015, that's when everything starts to change again. But
I can see that.
Anyway, I'm just an old fart of the car community at this point.
We're getting there at least.
Yes.
Anyways, though, I did want to ask about your Mustang.
Which one? The white one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
Oh, yes.
Like, I know you got a whole video and stuff on it.
Oh, it's okay.
Like,
no, I'll spark notes it. But basically, yes, the first time coming to your studio, not in the white Mustang.
I know.
It's sad.
Ooh.
But yeah, I loved that car, dude. I loved that car. It did everything I've ever wanted. I mean, it was 750 wheel horsepower on 93 octane. I never had to hunt for pump gas. Stock motor with oil pump gears in it.
Yeah.
Stock 10 speed, stock axles, stock control, everything. Just car.
Yeah.
And that just made it look cool. That's like how
you
can't really... Yeah, you can't really beat that. You know, it's like, I put a blower on it, made it look cool. Sweet, done.
Just as simple as a freaking Mustang.
You know, RTR. Gets. So if you guys don't know the background of the car, at first I did kind of like my own kind of spin on it and did, you know, sat really low and everything else. And then I was like, I'm tired of this. So then RTR reached out and they were like, hey, would you like to do some RTR stuff to your car? I'm like, absolutely. So I got to go to the lab. Got to put some just cosmetic stuff on the car, you know, wheels, tires, grills, stuff like that. Excuse me. And it transformed it. It looked amazing. So yeah, RTR really knows how to build a really good looking Mustang.
I will say,
like, have you seen the S650 RTRs? Oh my God. Like,
I'm not the biggest fan of the over fenders. How like there's kind of squared off.
Are you talking about the FD cars or the factory ones?
The FD cars.
So I'm talking about the factory ones.
The factory RTR cars are phenomenal.
I like them both, full transparency. But man, I saw a grabber blue on like bronze wheels RTR S650. I was like, whoa, like it looks good. But yeah, it was cool because when that was in development, that's when they were working on my white car.
Hell
and so
yeah.
Vaughn brought me back to the back room where they had it all sealed off, and you couldn't. And he was like showing me different vents and different gills and grills. And he's like, "Which one do you like?
That's so cool.
Which one do you?" I'm like, "Bro, I asked you for your autograph 10 years ago." It's just so interesting how life works, right? And
Oh, absolutely.
it's just really cool because he's given me lots of opportunities, and I can't like fault him at all. But he handed me like the hood scoop and be like, "Do you like this one?
Yeah.
Or do you like this one? Do you like this one?" I'm like, "Is he asking me?"
Dude,
It's crazy.
Vaughn alone is an interesting character.
Yeah.
Like, dude, he's one of those guys too. Like he kind of is exactly the same as he is on camera.
Oh yeah,
as well.
But
so like,
I don't
he's
think
just a fucking goofball.
people don't give him enough credit for bringing American drifting where it is, right? I mean, he was a huge poster boy for it, and so was Forsberg, so was Turek. But I mean, the dude was he was the main character in Need for Speed Shift 2, and it was all in half the game was drifting. Yeah. And
he was taking Mustangs to Japan to drift
the 2010
before any of us even knew what drifting was.
He brought a 2010. This is before the Coyote. It was a 4.6 liter.
That video just popped up.
It's
on
an
my shit
amazing
the other day.
video. It's so cool. I watched it when it came out, and yeah, it had a Roush blower on it, I think, or a Whipple blower on it.
Stock steering wheel and
stock
shit,
angle,
dude.
stock angle, everything. Shipped it over, and it was cool to see the Japanese locals like reaction to like a supercharged V8, because you're like, I guess it isn't that common. For us, we're like, oh, V8. They're like, whoa. And we're like, but Skyline, cool. It's funny how like you flip that. But he was really a big part. I mean, the first FD I ever watched he was in his 2005 Mustang with the Falcon livery on it. The classic Falcon. And I was like, what's this? Like this pre-Tokyo Drift, right? So
damn, that is true.
Yeah, so seeing that was like, what is this? And Need for Speed Underground had drifting in it and stuff like that, but it still was like, what is this? Like I couldn't really as a little kid, but I know like a lot of people possibly see Vaughn and RTR in the team as like the corporate overlord drift team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just not true to me, because they've done so much for the sport that you just can't. Like, you can't fault them. I understand if you want underdogs to win. Yeah. I totally get that. But when it comes to impact, holy smokes, dude. It's impeccable how much they've done. Shout out to Funhaver. They're coming to Cosmic. Sorry.
Oh, shit.
Funhaver's coming. There we go.
Oh, Ben lives in town, duh.
Yeah.
Oh, I forget.
Yeah, Ben's
right
great.
there, yeah.
And Ben, and shout out to Ben for being on RTR. It's awesome. He's a local homeboy, and it's cool to see him on there. But he murdered in Prospect, right? He deserves that seat.
Absolutely. Of anyone in Prospect, him.
Yeah.
Definitely. Honestly, give O'Sully a year or two.
Yeah.
And he's like, he seems like that
Sully's
next
good
person.
too. I've seen him too. I've seen him drive too. He's
really cool
very
dude
good.
too. Go
really
talk to
nice.
him if you ever see him.
By the way, if you're seeing this, Sully, we've talked for like maybe 5 minutes. Not that much. But yeah, it's been...
He's like an hour away.
Yeah, he's super chill.
Close.
Super chill. But it's it's just so cool to see like drifting go from this like really weird niche, like why are you wasting money on tires, to this is really fun. Like, this is great. Like, you got to make it to FD this year. You got to root for this team. But yeah, it's just mind blowing what Ready to Rock has done. I mean, it's insane. So that's all I gotta say about that. But yeah, they just I think I told you this, but the first time I met Vaughn was at an RTR after party that I probably had no business being at. And I said, so it was at 50th anniversary of the Mustang. I got invited. They gave me a handout. So it wasn't like a private thing. They gave me a handout of like a little flyer going, hey, come to the RTR after party at this bar.
Gotcha, yeah.
Right? In Charlotte. And I sat down, and he sat down right across from me. And he was like, hey, where do you live? I was like, Richmond, Virginia. He goes, oh, I learned how to drift in this parking lot in Richmond, Virginia. And it just,
the fuck?
Yeah, so there was an abandoned mall called Cloverleaf Mall. And they used to have drift events there.
That's so funny.
Like sanctioned drift events there.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else there. And he had his S13 coupe. And that's what we got talking about. And then and this is in 2014. So the new RTR of that time was about to come out.
Yeah.
And he couldn't help himself. He's like, check it out. He showed me on his phone. And then...
What a guy.
Well, then I have a good story now. Is at Mustang Week this year, we all go to dinner at this, like, I think, Indian place. We sit down. He's right next to me. And I'm like, freaking 10 years later, this is crazy. You know, it's just, I'm so fortunate. Like, that's how I feel. It's not like, yeah, it's cool. It's like, no,
Absolutely.
I am lucky. And he goes, hey, man, you want to see the new Spec 5?
Absolutely.
And he showed me it right there. And I said, you know, you did that the day we met with the 110 years ago, right? And he goes, oh my God.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
We did, didn't we?
Yeah. Small world, right? But yeah, you want to talk about a hardworking team.
Yeah.
All those
I
guys
could
work so
not
hard.
even imagine. All right. And like the first time I ever like really was in a conversation setting around Vaughn and the team and stuff, fucking wasted at Grid Life. They know how to party, dude. They have some fucking fun. Once the track's done, they're ready to fucking blow the top off of any place they're at. It's hilarious. But
yeah, just hardworking people.
Absolutely.
I mean, every time I see them, I go there, I quote unquote bother them for a moment just to be like, hey, great to see you, blah, blah, blah. And then that's pretty much it, just so I can let them work. Yeah. But I wonder if I should, you know what? Screw it. Sorry, Jim. So Jim, who does not get enough credit for RTR, works at the front desk of RTR. They nickname him 5-Star Jim. And because he has the best customer service skills I've ever seen.
No shit.
But the problem is that RTR, when people type in RTR sometimes, they get it confused with another website I think it's called Ready to Runway. And it's like a dress or clothing store. So people will call him and be like, my dress doesn't fit. I don't know what to do.
Oh, hell no.
Blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like serious stuff, like a prom dress or like a wedding dress or whatever. And he'll just let them go. And then at the end of the call, he'll be like, I can't really help you with the dress.
Oh, my God.
But what I can do is sell you a Mustang.
What a savage. Does he just do it for fun? Like to be funny? Or
I'm
like...
not going to speak for Jim, but he's awesome.
Dude, that's hilarious.
He's awesome. He's so funny.
Oh. I want to hear the response to that. Once he's finally like, look, I can't help you with that, but I could get you a really good deal on an RTR Mustang.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Yeah.
They're like, fuck you, motherfucker. I can't fucking stand you.
What are you talking about? Wrong number.
Oh my God. My face hurts.
Yeah, it's good.
That's good shit, dude.
But yeah, every time I see Jim, I'm like, what's up, 5-Star Jim?
I'm gonna call Jim one day just to play that role. And my wife's dress is fucked. What are we gonna fucking do? Blah, blah, just to see what he said. Oh man. All right, sorry. But speaking of the Mustangs, though, we did get sidetracked. And somehow
I'm so sorry.
got on
My white Mustang got totaled.
Yeah, so
done.
We did get way off. How did that get totaled? Like, what was the circumstance?
So I needed to go on a parts run, so I needed to use our truck. So my wife needed to go run an errand. So she was like, hey, can I just take the Mustang? I was like, that's fine. So she went and took it. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She was driving out the highway in Atlanta, I-85, which is a war zone, you know. And she's in the left lane, or one of the, Peach Pass is here, which is like the express lane. She's over here. And this one, wow, who would have guessed it? A Nissan Altima was weaving through traffic. And long story short, rear-ended her at somewhere around 50 or 60 miles an hour. Yeah.
That alone totaled it?
Yeah, because what happened was so she came up on a traffic stop. So like traffic backed up and stopped. They were not stopped, right? It'd be different if they both had momentum, right? Nope, Altima came at it like a brick. And it was every stereotype you are thinking of. Like spare tire up front, No, sorry, not spare tire. Donut up front.
Yeah, skinny boy.
And flapping bumper, cracked headlight or whatever. It cracked windshield. No seatbelt. Didn't wear seatbelt. They should have.
Josh, insert picture of any of the million pictures of Altimas.
Dude, like today I was cut off by a Maxima and I was like, brethren. Like they just, it's crazy. It's weird, but big Ultimate energy never gets you away, man. But they, by the way, really funny Facebook.
I was just in one last weekend, I think, for Drift Appalachia. I had to rent a car because my truck's in the shop getting a transmission.
No, yeah, they're really common.
I felt embarrassed driving down the interstate.
Oh, nah, dude. Like when you're in a rental car, you're just in a rental car. You don't own it. That's how I see it. But but anyway, the Ultima obviously was absolutely destroyed. Yeah. But yeah, she got hit real hard, messed up her rotator cuff pretty bad because she saw it coming, which is almost worse.
Fuck, yeah.
It almost would have been better if she just got hit, right? Because you would have been more loosey-goosey. But she tensed up on the wheel, and that was it. Yeah. And so what happened was the impact was, visually in my videos, you can't really tell how bad it is because the S550 is like a tank. Yeah. Basically, it did its job. And the bumper itself didn't get like blown off or anything. It just like ripped. So it took the impact very well. The taillights busted out. My trunk was messed up. But the crash bar, what happened is if this is the crash bar, it V'd in like this, and then it pulled in the rear quarters. And so that was number one.
Oh, wow.
So that really messed it up.
Crumple zones ain't supposed to work like that.
Well, no. Well, that's not just that, but also they hit the car so hard that my entire exhaust system fell off the car up to the headers. And so basically it broke the clamps. And when I got to the scene, my exhaust was laying on the highway. And I was like,
that's nuts.
And so what that did was bend my lawn tubes.
Yeah.
And that totaled the car because the lawn tubes went up in value. So it was right over the cusp. Yeah. And honestly, it just wasn't worth fixing to me. Like when I actually got to like go to the body shop, and the body shop was super cool. They were like, dude, we really tried to save this thing financially. Yeah. They're like, look, it's never going to drive the same. Right, it's never going to drive the same, even if you frame pull it, even if you do everything. It's going to have probably lights on the dash. Dude, it had Christmas tree dash. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
It's a rolling computer.
Right. Nowadays, somebody bought it off Copart, though. I don't know who, but somebody did. So,
damn.
Shout out to you.
Hey, if you're watching, comment below.
Good luck.
Yeah.
But, I think, my 2013 Mustang also got rear-ended, right, in 2019. By a person on their phone, texting and driving, just like the first time, or just like the S550. Yeah. And that car, the bumper on the back never fit the same, no matter like what you do. Like we did everything right to OEM spec, and it still has a little bit of a gap in the bumper, right? It just
that sucks.
Yeah, you can't fight it. But that's my baby. Like that's the original car. Like I can't.
Yeah, that's the one you can't get rid of.
But
I get that.
But it still sucks. It's never gonna be the same.
Well, so okay. I feel like, I know you said it's not a modded car, but it's modded to a certain extent. So like you see it a lot where people get into wrecks, total their shit, whatever it is, fully modded car or barely modded. Nobody really talks about the aftermath.
Right.
So how does insurance work and all that stuff? And like how, like, do you come to the determining factors of like, this car is not, it's just needs to be scrapped or it needs to go away.
Typically the rule of thumb is really as long as it can drive up onto a trailer.
Huh.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Like when your car, I didn't realize like how much goes into it. Like when your car is totaled, you got to sign some paperwork.
Yeah.
It takes some time.
Well, let me ask you this then, because like when people see that, and I'm sure you got a million fucking comments saying this, but prime drift car material, like it's perfect for a drift car.
Nah,
like
I would have to manual swap it. It's not fun in the auto.
Not even that. Yeah. It's just all that headache that you would have had to go through.
Oh my god, it would have been cheaper to just go buy like a 2015 S550.
Okay, yeah,
yeah. That's what I'm saying is like,
there you go.
Yeah. Long story short, people said that a million times. They're like, yeah, drift car. I'm like, no. Like, do you know how much freaking work I'd have to do? Like, that I don't have time for. It'd be different if my channel was 100% building cars.
Yeah.
Sure, plenty of content. Cutting the frame up and whatever, cutting the chassis up and re-welding. But I don't do that.
Yeah.
That's a waste of my time because my car builds, historically, viewership-wise, don't do as well as my other content. So why? Right? You have to really make this big decision. Why put in the months of work and financial for that?
Yeah.
And,
I totally get that.
So it's more about what's best for you and also just a new chapter. A lot of the times it's better with a car when it gets totaled just to be like, new chapter. Let's move on. Because usually by the time you fix it, everyone's forgot that it got totaled anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, well, all right.
True. So you ended up selling that car, right? Like completely, or they just...
Oh, yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's gone.
Well, I know you recently sold a bunch of other cars, right?
Oh, no, I was thinking about
about
selling
it.
them.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because just to downsize,
Yeah.
so much just to keep up with.
Plus, it's just money being tied up too.
Yeah,
it's just sitting there.
It's just sitting there, and you come to realize that, like, I build cars mostly for me, right? And if it resonates with the audience, that's great. But usually when it's funny when the car is done,
nobody cares.
You have this kind of like, well, now what, right? Because okay, it's done. Yeah. Where do we go from here? And if you ever bring it back, the number one comment is, "Oh, yeah, I forgot about this thing." So then you're like, well, maybe I should have just sold it, at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm a moron and I got sentimentally attached and blah, 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 blah.
That's
blah,
my
blah.
problem. I get so attached to the cars that I had. That RX-7 that's been sitting out there for years.
Yeah.
That's one of my dream cars. So one day I'll touch it. But like, that's something that I don't care if it ever sees the internet. I don't like.
Yeah,
it's just that's a car for me.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Absolutely.
But the RB and the Z, that was like, the Z's are cool, I guess, but like they don't look the best.
That's what I should.
I love the RB, but like, yeah. But it was something cool, and I did it more as like a business endeavor.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Type deal.
And the livery looks sick.
To have a tool to use.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's what it was. But okay, well, do you have anything else that you want to share as far as the website goes, or as far as the events go? Okay,
Cosmic Drift, October 26th, pre-register. Track goes hot at 5. Driver meeting probably around 4:30. Be there. If not,
square.
Yeah, be square. Enjoy it. Huge thanks to Nappy Boy and Gazoo Racing, Mega Racer, Z1 Motorsports, Nexon Tire, Core Works.
All this shit.
Because they're supporters. People who make things happen, and without people like Mega Racer, it wouldn't have happened.
True.
And just Caffeine Octane Linear Raceway for letting me throw on such a crazy event. It's just amazing.
They've been a massive part of drifting.
Yeah,
recently.
And once again, I don't think people give them enough credit. But
stop trashing their motherfucking facility too. Last time I was at you, I didn't say nothing about this last time. I don't think, but at your event, the day after or whatever, because wasn't it like a 2-day or something?
There was the next day was a morning drift, essentially, just to hang out, and drift.
So I came just to hang out for a little bit and saw where all the spectators. It's never the paddock. It's never the car show.
Yeah.
It's the spectators. When you people show up and you get out of your damn car, stop throwing your trash outside of your door. The trash cans are 20 feet away at most. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Throw your shit away, please. Nobody wants to pick up after you. You're a child.
Yeah, I know
Sorry.
that feeling.
I know you're not going to say it, but I will.
Oh, it's fine. I totally support that. But yeah, okay. 26, Cousin Drift. Even if you're from out of state, come. It's worth it. It's going to be a visual spectacle. The lasers alone are going to be dope. Second, Project Car Exchange. If it's in hard launch, come check it out. If it's in beta right now, come check it out. All you have to do is register with an email. We're not going to
sign up.
We're not going to, by the way, we're not completely spamming your email with stuff, okay?
That's
like,
cool.
Every now and then, what we'll do through email is, hey, there's a cool listing in the features thing. That's it. That's it for now, okay? So all we need is for people to sign up, give feedback, and enjoy the window shopping, or go buy a car. That's it. Or put up a listing. That's it. Just give it a try. And if you don't sell your stuff immediately, that's okay. It's a work in progress, and we're just getting feedback of the platform itself. That way we can evolve it over time. Other than that, subscribe to Dawson. Everything's great.
Hell yeah.
Circle Drift, boy.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Grassroots Hero, too. Grab the merch if you want to support. If you actually like the podcast, grab the merch. Best way to keep the lights on. All I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, by the way, I think I'll have a Cosmic Drift merch shirt at the event if you'd like to come get one.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
I didn't have merch last year.
I'll bring some shirts, and if I have hats left over from Fuel Fest, I will bring those too.
Oh, I guess the last thing I'd say is the Coyote Drift car is going to be there.
Well, you kind of said that, but yeah.
Yeah. But, last year it was there.
Half-assed debuted.
Yeah. So it'll be good. Okay. I could ramble on forever, but that's about it.
Yeah. And keep an eye out for my car review. That's what he's about to go do. So, and actually, speaking of that, if you want to use Cosmic as a chance to drive the car on the track too for that video, you can.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Just give you some extra footage for it.
Interesting. We'll figure it out.
All right, cool. But yeah, I got to do the last 3 questions.
Yep.
So, if you had the opportunity to build the absolute best seat time car possible, what car would it be, and what parts are you getting from Injuku?
350Z.
Everyone says it.
350Z. I mean, it's the cop-out answer, but it's just true. I mean,
G35 sedan if you want the steez.
Yeah, but I think just the Z just feels natural.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once you get the light bulb moment drifting a Z, you go, this is drifting, right?
Yeah.
And you go, got it. And the chassis of that car, for whatever reason, you don't need a zillion horsepower, and its wheel speed is bananas, right?
Fucking anything.
Yeah. But
Coilovers.
Z, coilovers, and I mean, maybe controversial, handbrake, just as a tool to learn how to scrub speed. And I've ankle kit.
I've always said that's not really necessary in the beginning because most people aren't even going to go fast enough to enter anyways. They're just going to spin out.
I think the only reason I'll say it is, one, it's already in there when it's done. And two,
that's why I did it.
And two, it's not as easy as a muscle memory as people think.
Yep.
Like the clutch in, turn in your head, turn, pull. Like they think, oh, I'll just rip on it. It's like, there is a technique.
Forget where that motherfucker is real
Side
quick.
note, first time I ever ripped e-brake in a Z on pavement, I completely chunked a tire, destroyed the whole thing. It was a brand new tire.
Damn.
Because I ripped on it too long. Oops. Right. But see, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Injuku, they've helped me for years. I love those guys. I mean, it is my goat. Like legit. I'm not sponsored by them anymore. Well, I would love to be sponsored by them again. But anyway, I love those guys to death. They helped me with my 2JZ project years and years and years ago. And they were insanely supportive. And their parts get to your house so quickly. They do an amazing job. Their customer service is phenomenal. And if you own a Nissan or any of the other platforms on there, it is the place to go.
Yeah, it's literally a brochure for Zs.
It's perfect. It's if you are new to drifting or if you're just into drifting, it's the first place my brain goes to for parts. And I don't mean to turn this into an ad, but Injuku is awesome. Like, it's awesome. I love those guys.
I think the last time, on the shipping thing, the last time I ordered something from them, now, for reference, from Florida to Tennessee. That's where I'm at. 2 days, 2 or 3 days.
In car part term, nothing.
Yeah.
That's
fast.
It's real fast.
For car parts.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's exciting.
Can't get that shipping nowhere else.
When you get that
Amazon.
Injuku box, you're like, yeah. It's a good feeling. It's a good day because your car's going to be extra spicy once you get that stuff on there.
Absolutely. And you can get your Kanseis there. Look at that. Kanseis, BCs. Look, got it all for you. But no, you said coilovers and what? Sorry.
Coilover, angle kit, handbrake.
I'd throw a bucket seat in there.
See,
I would say a bucket seat is more important than a handbrake.
See, I learned in stock seat.
Angle kit.
Actually, no, you know what?
I did too.
You know what? I learned with the factory handbrake, now that I think of it. Yeah, I learned with the factory parking brake. And then I was in a stock seat. So maybe that's why I don't prioritize it as fast. Because
it was a game changer once I got a bucket
see,
seat.
I didn't even think about it.
Dude.
I think it's, you know what it was? And now know why I know, well, words. We are just lengthening this podcast so
It's
long.
fine. You guys
anyway,
love it.
So now that I think of it, since my main drift lessons were Texas Drift Academy ice drifting in Minnesota, I was in a heavy jacket and snow pants, but I was in the factory seat, but I didn't move that much because I'm kind of gripped
You're
up.
bulked up, yeah.
I'm bulked up.
And everything's moving slower. There's not as much G-force.
Oh, there's much
Just sling you
before.
around. No, I know that, but like when you're chucking it in at 60 miles an hour and it's stomping off, like it's I don't know how big the spikes are either. So
Oh, dude, no, you're hauling.
the spikes add a lot of grip. So I don't know.
I would roughly equate it to 85% pavement. It's that
Is it?
close.
Okay. Then I stand
when you're
corrected then.
no. First of all, we got to get you up there.
Oh, I know. I
Second,
need to talk to Josh
but no,
about
it
that.
is. It is, in my opinion, the most fun drifting I've ever done.
Yeah.
Like, period. Because other than Cosmic, but I will say this: it's a unique experience, but it's the sheer seat time, right? And the cool thing about ice drifting is that you have to commit, because if you don't get the wheel speed, you're just going to straighten out.
Yeah.
It's like it's
I've heard
driving
that.
a super grippy car, right? And so it's incredible. But anyway, that's probably why in my head I don't prioritize the other stuff, is because that's what I learned in. I learned in a 350Z with the spike tires, but a GK Tech angle kit and like some control arms and coilovers. That was it. So yeah, I guess I wouldn't prioritize it now. It's not so much you convince me. I think I associate so much drifting Z's with already having it in there, right, in my brain now.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're just practicing figure eights and stuff, like, now you don't need it. You don't need it.
Yeah.
Footwork, baby.
That's it.
Footwork and your vision. Vision.
Yeah.
Number one.
Look where you want to go.
Yeah, because if you don't, you're gonna hit a wall.
Yeah. You'll go exactly where you don't want to go.
Target fixation. It's just funny because I keep bouncing back and forth on my answer, because I guess it's just one of those things. I've driven so many cars now that I don't mean this in an arrogant way. It's just like, oh, that car was set up this way, and that car was set up this way, and that car was set up. That one needed it. This one didn't need it.
Yeah.
Like, there's some cars like that break your brain. Like, for example, that 9-hour drift day I did in Iowa, which I've done 3 times, by the way. Two of the times was in a stock GT86, so the newer FRS with an angle kit on it, and it was stock factory e-brake, and I would just use that to break it loose sometimes. And then next thing you know, I'm driving Cho FDM's RB25 car, which had a grippier set of tire, and you could just lay on it, but giving it a nice little bop helped it. You just boom, get it going. So yeah, everybody's car is set up differently, but yeah, some cars just don't want to break loose.
Yeah.
You know, now that it's coming to mind, some are just like, oh my God, please. Some cars I drove at Mid Pond. I'm trying to remember.
Mid Pond's rough.
I like Mid Pond.
I love Mid Pond.
Yeah, but if you have a car that
rough,
doesn't want to break loose on Mid Pond, you're like,
that's
please.
Crazy to me, because like
Low
it's
power.
easy with how like fucking
low
bumpy
horsepower.
it is. It breaks the rear end loose for you already, so like it's pretty easy to just kick out.
I was
It's just
driving
being
a
committed to the
gripped
line
up,
is the problem.
shout out to Brianna. Brianna, she has a Lexus SC300, so in a JZ.
Heavy as hell, yeah.
And she was killing it because she was used to it. I went out there, and it was probably the worst drifting I've done in like 5 years, because I was just like, how are you driving this thing on this surface? At Lanier, I could do it in my sleep. I've driven her car there. Like, no problem. It's just I was used to that surface at that time or whatever. Didn't need an e-brake, anything. At Mid Pond, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like, please.
Fighting the car the entire time.
Yeah, shout out to Kenan and everybody out there. Great. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Community.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, what would be your best piece of advice for anyone just getting into drifting? See what you got.
Stop
this time.
overthinking it. Get something like a Z. Don't try to be cool. Go out there and drive. Like, I mean, E-chassis doesn't have to be an M3, right? E-chassis, 350Z, S550 Mustang off whatever. Project Car Exchange. And go out there, learn the dynamics of your car first and how it reacts. First of all, don't try to go out there and go full send yet, because everybody online can go full send. Drifting is much harder than people make it out to be nowadays.
Yes.
I think there's a false expectation that you're going to go out there and be LZ your first time out, right? And he's been drifting for years.
You better not be thinking that.
No,
Humble
no,
yourself.
no, but no, I mean it. Like, when I teach people at Caffeine Octane Linear, some kids get really upset, right? Because they're like, oh my God, I suck. And like, no, you don't suck. You just never done it. You just never done it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like learning stick. Like, everybody sucks. You know, like the first day. There's people who are like, I got it my first day. It's like, sure you did, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Drifting is like that times 100. You're relearning how to drive. And at the same time, you're doing things the car was never meant to do. Because what happens when you're in, like, let's say 370Z or 350Z, when you let off throttle, I have a saying, I go, the car wants to be a car again, right? It grips up and wants to do its job. You're breaking all your vision techniques that you were taught or not taught in driver's school. You are breaking everything you were ever told, like, don't, this is bad. Don't do donuts or whatever. Now you're just like full sending it and trying to make your car do this thing without the body collaborating.
True.
Right. So that's why it's so many people I teach. Like, a big one is when they are trying to transition, and this isn't for every car. Like, some cars, you can, don't quote me on expert opinion here, but some cars you can get away with it. That's a better way to say it. You can flick it and let off completely and then flick it again and go in it. Some cars don't like that, right? No. The safer option typically is to keep like the little big toe, like that 10%, that 20% while in transition. That way you keep the wheel speed up and it's easier to transition. But a lot of the times when I ride with people and I'm teaching them, they'll do the complete let off, right? And they just can't get it. And I'm like, oh, there it is. There's the problem.
Yeah.
But imagine if somebody never told them. They could have quit drifting because they're like, oh, I'm just not good at this. I'm never going to try it again. Right? So my best piece of advice, just go do it. I know it sounds very stereotypical. And second, no one gives a crap if you're good or not.
Yeah.
I like people, if you see videos of people, there's one that went viral locally to me of a guy just talking a whole bunch of smack through the fence at Linear. Like, I'm sorry, are you driving? I don't think so. Are you going to be as good as them? Definitely not.
Sounds gay.
With that attitude, I bet you're twice as bad. It was a kid out there at a clinic, by the way. Not a real, not even a drift event. Yeah. A clinic. They're learning. And the person's just talking smack the whole time through the fence, like, oh man, this guy sucks. Well, I'm like, who cares? Like, second of all, as long as you're not holding up a line, right, or whatever at a drift event. And I always have liked the 2 spin out rule, right? If you're learning, I like it. I like it. Oh, Linear, it flows okay, but because it's big enough.
Yeah.
But at a smaller track, no. Like at Riverside, like that wouldn't have worked, I don't think. But
true, yeah.
But yeah, the 1 or 2 spin out rule, as long as you're not disturbing traffic, people are rooting for you. They're not against you. Like, the drift community is such a niche community, and if people are mean, man, that's just a bad look. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. Yeah. And if people are mean about it, man, you must have done something wrong. That's how I mostly see it. But anyway, at least in my local community, no one gives a crap if you're bad or you spin out, because we've all been there.
Yeah.
And it's a muscle memory that's not easily learned at all. Just because hot boys on YouTube and TikTok can do it. They never showed the times they spun out or crashed or anything.
Yeah.
Right? There's
all the practice laps they took.
You mean the hundreds probably, or the sim time? Yeah. Right? Like,
no, I mean just that day before that video.
Oh yeah, recorded. No. What they did was they recorded the one good run and hid the rest of them.
Highlight reels,
right? Baby. And that, by the way, like whatever. But I really don't expect that person, or I'd hope not, that person who spun all day and then posted their one good one to go talk trash about another driver. Like, why? So I treat drifting or any motorsport in front of a crowd like public speaking, right? It's like, remember, don't care. Like, care enough, but don't care about what they think, because you're not going to make any progress. If you're only caring about what the people in the stands are thinking, you're not going to get any better, because you're there for you. You're not there for them.
Yeah.
So, because you paid the money, you paid for the driver ticket, and for the love of God, ask for help. One of your questions was, I think I took a sneak peek at, has Atlanta got any better, like with takeover stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, look, it's fair to make assumptions on this one. Like, we have some people that have been coming to the track that blatantly came from that corner of the scene, right? The type of car they drive, their attitude, blah, blah, blah. Contradictory to popular belief, good. I'm glad that they're there. I hope they don't take the skills and go do dumb things. You can't stop them.
Yeah.
Right? But at least they're there. However, if somebody offers you help and you say no, and you're spinning out the whole time for an ego
Your own
check,
fault, idiot.
it's your fault.
Yeah.
Which has happened. But
that's why I brought the door tapper guys on.
Yeah.
Because they're like, they're, as far as I know, the only like real team that is doing it correctly.
Sure.
And like visibly online.
Sure.
Where anyone can just watch and see. But like, yeah, I mean, it's super cool to me. And you can, like, they're different type of people.
Yep.
Like they talk different. They act different. They're louder. And like, that's cool. It's not who I'm going to be, but like,
right.
I'm just glad you're doing it correctly. You're actually driving at a track, driving at events.
Well, I think
getting proper seat time, learning how to actually drive.
Sorry, I interrupted you. I apologize.
No, you're good.
God, this is gonna be such a long podcast because this is like a long-winded answer to that. But sorry. When you teach people in any motorsport, the scariest thing to ever leave somebody's lips when they get in the car with you and you're in the passenger seat is, I'm a good driver.
Yeah.
And that is because they've never been told no.
Yeah.
That's wrong. And going to a racing school is, for any car person ever, I would argue the most valuable thing you'll ever do.
Mm-hmm.
Because they will humble you purposely, and at the same time you'll realize how wrong you were the whole time.
Yeah.
And that goes for drifting, it goes for everything, but road course specifically, like when you're teaching people road course stuff and they're like, I'm a good driver, I'm like, oh sure, this is gonna be rough because they'll 12 o'clock hit.
Yeah. Well, there's more diligence and like research and like math that goes behind all of that too. So like
all that, right? So
there's more data to go off of.
Yes,
to prove it.
but man, like but in drifting too, like if you have somebody say, I'm a good driver, that means this is going to be a long day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why can't you just say, I'm here to learn?
Yeah.
It's fine. But basically,
I mean,
you need an ego check.
I hear people like at Denofa's level saying, I'm a terrible driver. What are you talking about? I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, you're not.
But it's more rewarding to hear him say that than like, I'm the best thing.
Yes.
Right. That's why people
humble.
love Chelsea, is that Chelsea's damn good. Yeah. Right. And I love that he builds more unorthodox stuff. Mm-hmm. Right. The EcoBoost Fox and the Porsche and all that. Like, it's just cool. And every time I see him, I just ask how the car's going. He's like, good. Everything's great. It's going well. And then he goes out there and just rips. You know, I think it's cool that he's out there and quote unquote enjoying life a little bit more. And you know, is getting out there and driving some fun stuff.
Dude. Like, he's having more fun in his videos, and
it's a hard life.
Yeah,
you know, being on the road and like it. Of course, everybody would take the gig if they had the chance. Mm-hmm. Of course, but yeah, it's a long road. I mean, especially with his history too. You know, like going on its own. I was going through old footage from like 2014, 2015. Mm-hmm. And I have some practice runs of him at Wall Speedway.
That's cool.
In the BMW.
Hell
like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know, but it's just so cool to see the evolution of everybody. And that's where I'm going to loop it around, is everybody gets better over time as long as you keep trying it.
Everything gets better with age, baby.
That's right.
Sure.
All right, I'm gonna be the. I'll stop it because I'll keep rambling.
All right, well, you got the last one. If you had the opportunity to speak to the entire world, what would your one message be?
I would take away that, I said this earlier in the podcast, but I guess I'll go more into detail with it, is that what I've learned over the years in the car community specifically is that it is like the hobby 100% brings us together. There's no doubt about that. But, it changed my life. It absolutely changed my life, and I have thousands of people to thank for that. But just remember, whatever hobby you're into, but I'll use cars as an example, it is about the people, right? Just remember, whatever event you go to, whether it's a stance show or a drift show or a drag show or anything, being nice is not difficult.
Yeah.
Like, it's not difficult. However, just make sure to go out there and have fun. And if you have just some fun, friendly competition, it's awesome. But just remember, like, you're all in it for the same reason. We all were born the same way. We're all going to die the same way, hopefully. But we're all going to die eventually. It sounds dark, but just remember that if you're going to use basically your time on Earth to go do something cool with a car, just remember, don't worry about what everybody else thinks. Just come do it for you, and other people will gravitate towards you and enjoy what you're doing as long as you're enjoying it. I think that's what I'll finish on.
Hell yeah. That's good advice. All right. Well, I guess that's all I got. So you want to plug yourself or shout anyone out that you haven't already, I guess?
Okay. Shout out to Caffeine Octane Linear Raceway for letting me have Cosmic Drift on October 26th. ProjectCarExchange.com. Go try the beta. That Dude in Blue on YouTube if you want to see some absolutely ridiculous cars be reviewed in a very unorthodox way. Also, I do news stories as well, when cars get unveiled and stuff like that. So anything that's into cars, I've probably done it. So not in an arrogant way, but I've done a lot. So if you want to see it, it's there. And yeah, if you're going to be at SEMA, I'll be at SEMA. I'll be at the Liquid Molly booth. There you go. There's another one. And other than that, I'll be hanging out and I'll be bugging him to come with me.
Hell yeah.
That's about it.
Sounds good. All right. Well, yeah, that's all we got. So absolutely go look below the video. Make sure the subscribe button's pressed. Grab the merch, 144.com. That's all I got. So yeah, see you each and every week for a brand new episode. Thanks. Peace. Well, this is most certainly not the cut-in I wanted to make, but I've already gotten plenty of questions about the car and what had happened at Fuel Fest. First things first, I think truly that everything bad that happens in your life is 100% your fault. Even if it's provoked by someone or something, there's always something that you could do that could have prevented that. So yes, I did have a mechanical failure, but nothing bad happened to the motor or anything. But it is something that I lacked the skill and the knowledge to make whenever I first did this swap. But before I talk about that, let me show you the damage. So just looking at it bare, it doesn't really look that bad. Essentially, the quarter panel did get smushed in right here quite a bit, but the front is what took majority of the impact. Now, this was extremely farther in, but we actually ratchet strapped it out a little bit because this piece right here was digging into the tire. So we wanted to get that cleared so we can get it on the trailer and not completely blow the tire while it was on there. And essentially, I broke two arms in the rear that were essentially the only aftermarket arms that I had in the rear. But luckily, the guys over at Grip Royal, they have their 350Z that they both share, and they always keep spare ISR rear arms from Injuku in their trailer, so they just basically lent me the arms and we'll get that sorted after the fact. But it was able to get the rear back together so that it wasn't, like you could see in the picture, it was like basically stanced out. It was kind of cool, but very bad. But I do want to give a massive thanks to them because they were an absolute savior for this, because my winch doesn't quite work right, so I had no other option but to make this thing rollable to even get on the trailer. Now, I couldn't drive it on the trailer, which I'll get to that in a second, but essentially that is it on the rear that got messed up. my bumper brackets and stuff got bent and all that, but that's easily fixable. And the wheel just got some scuffs on it, so it's not horribly bad, but pretty much the door went completely unscathed. It was totally fine, but the front end is the bad part, as you can pretty much tell. This took the brute force of the impact on the wall, and the wheel, which is in the bed over here that I can show you. This is the wheel. They got pretty banged up. Like I mentioned in one of my recent videos and podcasts, the Kansei wheels are actually meant to be a braking point, so it actually did its job perfectly well on what it was supposed to do, but I did come in full throttle for the reason I'll get into in a second, to the wall, so I really had no other option, and it took all the impact on the front right of the car. You're not really going to be able to see any of this too well, but I don't know if you've ever seen what FDF knuckle placement is supposed to look like, but this is pretty bent. Basically, impact was right here on the front with the wheels kind of at lock. It wasn't at full angle at all, so it just pushed everything kind of in and back for the most part. Luckily, none of the strut tower or anything got moved, at least from what I can tell. We'll figure that out as we kind of dive a little deeper into what actually all happened and stuff. But I am noticing just from this morning, we got some oil or something building up, which maybe power steering fluid or something, I'm not too sure. But yeah, so essentially whole knuckles got to be replaced. Possibly the upper, it looks like it's just slightly bent, so I might be able to just bend that one back and it'd be totally fine. Actually, no, I think the upper's totally fine. It doesn't look big. I am worried about the lower a little bit, but it is pretty beefy of a lower, so I don't think that really got messed up or anything. It just looks like the knuckle got twisted up a little bit. Considering the circumstance, with the Kansei doing its job, taking most of the brute impact, I only bent the knuckle so far, so I will take that as a complete win. I know that may not sound like a complete win, but I mean, this is the game that we play whenever we get into this, and I chose one of the weirdest swaps to do, so that kind of brings me into what actually happened to get me into the wall. Essentially, I don't have the very best throttle cable setup in this car, and obviously nobody makes any type of parts for the swap. So figuring this out with it being the first swap, which is kind of stupid on my head, or on my part, jumping into a swap that is this difficult for your first one, not suggestible. I don't suggest that at all. But it was very hard to find a throttle cable that was, for one, long enough, and two, would work right, because you have to modify the factory 350Z pedal to accept a throttle cable, because 350Zs are e-throttle. Now I'm considering going to, but I do have another option. I talked to Spoon, and he knows a guy that makes throttle cables himself and brake lines and all sorts of stuff, so we'll talk to him and see what we can possibly do on getting a proper throttle cable set up in here. So essentially, I've been dealing with throttle cable issues non-stop with this car, and it just basically sticking in certain areas where it'll stick wide open. I have this little bracket set up that I made myself, just that bolts on the intake exactly where the factory throttle cable bracket would mount to. Or I guess it wouldn't be factory because this is a Freddy intake, but everything's good on the throttle body that I can tell. Everything moves just fine, but it only seems to happen under load. What's crazy to me is at Kill Care for No Star Bash, the car ran pretty well almost the entire weekend. And only here and there I would feel some weird sticking issues with the throttle cable. So I noticed that whenever it was doing it, it was because the throttle cable was actually like flopping around too much. So I added just a simple little bracket to see if it would work, that I could bolt it to. But then, with how short the cable is, I ran into a problem where this style clamp being bolted here, when the motor goes under load and shifts a little bit, it yanks on the coating of the cable, which tightens the actual cable. So it would leave my idle at like $3,000 and then sometimes 4 or 5 and just keep climbing as I'm going back to the pits. So I had gone out and done roughly 2 laps. My throttle cable started sticking, so I came back in, adjusted it a little bit, went back out, did the same thing. And this happened roughly 6 to 7 times, and eventually I ended up taking that bracket off, and that seemed to help majority of it and really getting, but then after adjusting it, where I have the connector to the little set screw right here, kept coming loose and just completely snapping the throttle cable. So I would be stuck on track, taking up track time, which is never fun for anyone. And I kept having to push it back into the pits and basically redo the throttle cable. And I did that probably 4 times and readjust this to give it a little bit extra slack. And it seemed to have worked, because I went out after that for like 2 laps, and I took Jay out to do a data log as well, and worked phenomenally. Didn't really feel any sticking issues. So I was like, cool, now I can start taking some ride-alongs. Went and grabbed someone. I want to reiterate this. Thankfully, he was okay. He was on the side of the impact, and that's never something as a driver you want to be in place of, because we are here to give everyone the best experience we can with these cars and try and put on a show. The last thing you want to do is get someone in an accident. Now, luckily, again, he was okay. We both walked away totally fine. Now, we did hit the wall pretty hard, so I think we both had some headaches, but we can deal with that. That's no big deal. But essentially what had happened was I was coming into the first turn, and there's actually this little dip, which was like, if you hit it right, it was kind of fun. I was dealing with fuel slosh issues, of course, still, so wasn't very fun for me. So I would have to basically wait until after that little dip, and then I could enter. So did that. I was coming in pretty hot with this for this turn because I wanted to push it and go a little faster. So I clutch kick entered, and the throttle cable got stuck wide open, and I was not able to bring it back, because usually, like I said, I've been dealing with it multiple times, so I could just, snatch the handbrake a little bit. It'll bring everything back together, and I can just feather out, come out of drift, and just exit track really quick and not get in anyone's way. But this situation, usually I would try and check the handbrake, give it a little bit more angle, and just throttle out of it, like I always say. But I could not get the throttle back, and it did not want to give me more angle, so it just kept shooting me out towards the wall. Luckily, it did check it up enough to where I could just essentially flatten the car up against the wall. Now, the front did hit first, so it kind of went boom and then brought the rear around, and that's what smacked the rear arms and snapped those. But that's essentially what happened. So now I don't know what's gonna happen moving forward. I'm considering going ahead and shutting the car down for the rest of the season, and possibly just entirely next season. I don't really know. This will be quite expensive-ish to fix, and with my truck right now is actually in the shop getting some transmission work. It's been in the shop for almost 2 months now. That's a whole other situation. I've had to rent trucks to get to these events and still make them happen, because I have obligation, I have sponsors, and I want to make things happen for you guys too. But I am heavily considering just decommissioning the car for the rest of the year and next year, so I can focus on the podcast and really bringing you guys some better interviews and not necessarily worry about this thing. This thing's cool, but it's just a tool. That's a part of a bigger plan. But I will leave it up to you guys too. I want your input, and I want you guys to tell me what you think you would do in this situation and how you would make it better. Because personally, I got some fun out of the car. I pushed it to make the car work, have some type of a debut this year, and it did that, not in the way I totally wanted or planned to, but I think some good can come of this, to where I can get more focus on the podcast for you guys and really worry about this thing another time and bring it back when it can be at its prime and not built by a lousy mechanic like me. But I do want to thank all of you that did come out to Fuel Fest and come and said hi and come to check out the car. They actually dropped it by the pits just in the open parking lot, so everyone was over there swarming it, taking pictures after the wreck, which is kind of funny. Not the exposure I guess you would want, but I thought it was kind of cool. I don't know. But Again, I want to give a massive shout out to the Grip Royal guys, and especially Scott over there for lending me the arms, and I will get that repaid for you very quickly. But we'll see if you guys ever run into this issue. IS Hardware arms, they have the full package of them on Njuku, so go grab them. Make sure you have spares like I did. Make sure you have spares. And I want to say thank you to everyone that came out and bought a shirt or bought a hat. Make sure, especially now, if you want to help out, go grab a hat, go grab a shirt. It's good merch, good quality. This is kind of like a dry fit material. It's got both of the podcast logo and the Grassroots Hero logo on the sides, and then your Grassroots Hero on the front. But very comfy hat, big head friendly too. I've never had a hat that I've had to buckle overlapped, so yeah, grab one of those, grab a shirt, support how you can. I appreciate it either way. Thank you guys for always sticking around, and get back to the podcast, man.
Stacking way up to the ceiling. Trust no bitch, can't catch no feelings. I've been taking long flights from the Bay to Ibiza. Hit home runs, I'm a ball like Jeter. I just want fuck, then I leave her. I'm a young pop star, call the boy Justin Bieber. Got a little money if you want, I can teach you. Whole life a movie, you can watch it in theater. Stacking way up to the ceiling. Trust no bitch, can't catch no feelings. I've been taking long flights from the Bay to Ibiza. Hit home runs, I'm a ball like Jeter. I just want fuck,